Hi, this is Annie Thoe, and welcome to Sensing Vitality. Today, this is going to be a continuation of balance lesson, so it's a little more advanced. I recommend doing the previous balance lesson or a couple of them before doing this lesson. But this is a very fun lesson, and it will take you to that next level of balance. So like before, I'm going to use a blanket roller. And I have been working with these for a very long time. It's a fabulous tool for improving balance. Take two thin blankets and roll them tightly together, and you're going to straddle it. Okay, you can use towels. I've even used jackets when I've been in a bind. All right, so a lot of things will work, but experiment and find the right diameter for you. And just like last time, we're going to test the movement of how easy and smooth your pelvis can move. Place one hand on top of your head and very slowly drop your one side of your pelvis down, and not as far as you can go, just a little bit, and then drop the other side. So go back and forth and notice what happens in the side of your spine, your shoulders, your breathing. We want to go as slow as you can go. And let's just do a couple to the same side. So do like 3 to one side, 3 drops, and just feel what happens in your neck. Does your shoulder tighten? Because this reflects what we do when we walk or run. There's differences side to side, and that can affect us in the long term. Okay, and then let's come away and take that away and just sit and feel how that is to sit now. All right. Good. Now, if you like, you can increase the weight from last time or use the same weight. So I'm going to use just a slightly heavier weight. And be careful with this, because if you have any shoulder issues, don't do a heavier weight. Stay with a lighter weight so you're not stressing your shoulder joint. Okay? But one thing about just increasing the weight a little bit is it loads the joints so that your nervous system is paying attention. So if the weight is a little bit more, and we don't have to do a lot more, but just a little bit more, it wakes things up. Okay? So I'm going to start on this side this time just to be different. I'm going to put one hand on my head. So this is a much heavier weight than the weight in the last video. Okay? Now, very slowly roll and see how do you roll, holding the weight out away from your body. And maybe move it a little further. And notice that there's more stabilizing going on in your back as the weight goes further and further out. And I notice my rib cage tightening a tiny bit more. So I want to practice. Can I breathe and relax as I'm moving this further away? Okay? And then let's rest. Now, what's going to be more advanced here is we're going to work with your eyes this time. So just take away your roll for a moment. Feel your sit bones, roll on them a little bit, and just turn your head now, just sitting on your sit bones, turn your head, and you'll feel that that place where we just were turning to with the rock, there's almost an easier way to turn there now, just because of that. There's like almost sense of gravity with the rock. It's amazing. So let's come again on the roll. Hand on your head, because we want to know where your head is. If your head's way over here or over here, that really affects balance. So we want your head neutral. Take the rock out to the side, okay? And then turn your head now to the rock. Turn and look at the rock. Look at the rock. And then play with where your neck is. So you can move your head a little bit this way, this way, this way, but look at the rock, okay? Lightly holding your head. And now let's take your pelvis from one side to the other. And if the rock is moving, right, then we're not differentiating the shoulder. So we want to be able to keep the rock in one place and move the pelvis, keep the head still, right? It's harder than it looks maybe, because I'm moving this. I'm not doing it perfectly. I could be improving, and I hopefully will at the end of this lesson. All right, and then let's come back and rest. Wow, feel the difference, okay? So something's going on now with the contact in the pelvis itself after doing that. So I feel a lot more contact with this particular sit bone where the rock was. It's amazing. And now if you turn, you might notice it's like, whoa, easier to turn in this direction, right? Which is very useful if you're driving a car or a bicycle and you want to turn and look so your bike and car is stable. It's very useful. Let's take this to the other side. And as you notice, I always get my blanket nice and firm. Okay, you ready? So take a hold of your rock. And you could use, like I mentioned in the last video, I've got a jar here of honey or a can of soup or something like that, or you could use a potato or anything that has a fair amount of weight, but not too much weight. So now we're going to go to the other side. And wow, I'm already feeling a difference from having done this side. Okay, so now you're going to see how it is. Wow, see, this is turning already. I'm noticing I want to keep this still. I want to keep my head in the middle. I want to breathe, but I notice my rib cage with this extra weight, that there's more going on there of how do I balance. Now I'm going to take the rock just a little further, okay? And this is a little bit of work for my shoulder, okay? So don't go too far for yourself, but find a place where it's a little bit more interesting. And notice, like this time, my pelvis is moving in a different trajectory. It's not straight across, so that's interesting. So you'll find what you do. Okay, let's rest for a moment. Take a breath, roll your shoulders. And now let's come again. Take the rock. This time turn and look at the rock with your eyes. And now make sure it doesn't move. Keep the rock in one place and keep your head in one place. So check, is your head in the middle? And does the rock move when you move, or does it stay in one place? Okay, do your shoulders come up to your ears? Can you relax your shoulders? Whoa, this is really challenging. It gets better though, it gets better. Keep working with softening, easy, and that's it. We don't want to spend too long, okay? So this is not about, oh, I want to do this for 2 minutes or without resting. Actually, I want to do it not very long at all because I want to have the maximum ease when I do these movements. Keep that in mind. If you decide you do this without my guidance, be careful that you don't do very long intervals. Okay, now feel that sit bone on that side. It's interesting, okay? A lot more contact, okay? I feel so much more contact on my bones. How does it feel after doing that? If you don't feel anything right now, maybe go back to that first lesson, practice that a little bit more, and then come back and do this lesson again. It's always good to start at the beginning. Okay, now let's come again. And here's where we're going to make it even more difficult. All right, so hand on your head, arm out to the side. We're starting with that first side again. Okay, and this time you're going to look away from the rock. Look away from the rock and try to see, are you moving it or not? Okay, are you moving and are you tensing? So let's stay down to one side. So drop your hip to one side and just tilt your head from one side to the other. Breathing. And then let's go to the other side and tilt your head to one side to the other, but looking the opposite direction. Now turn and look at the rock and tilt your pelvis side to side. Turn and look away from the rock and tilt your pelvis. Did it get easier? Did it get easier if you tilt your pelvis now? And then come back. Okay, this is a short lesson. We could spend a lot longer exploring different variations here, but I wanted to give you just enough to really open up your balance here with your head, your arms, shoulders, and then the pelvis. Okay, so let's do the other side. Each time we add something new. So other side, holding the rock. Okay, and you can kind of extend it a little further, right? And we're going to roll side to side. And now look away from the rock and roll. Look away. And boy, I notice I'm not breathing as easy, so watch that. Make sure you're breathing, and then stop with your pelvis down on one side and tilt your head a little bit. And this is something we do a lot in balance. We sometimes move our heads to get the balance, but then that's not so easy. For instance, if you're skiing and your head's over to one side, it's difficult to correct a movement with your head out of position. So now I've moved to the other side and I'm moving my head. I'm looking still over to the left. And now let's check side to side after that head movement, and then turn, look at the rock. My arm's getting tired, I'll bring it in a little bit. There we go. And then let's rest. Anytime you need to rest, you can stop before I do. Now feel your pelvis. Notice the contact on the stool. Okay, so you should be able to actually lift one sit bone now and drop it. Can you lift your sit bone and try to drop it on your fingertips now? Can you feel your sit bone with your hand? That's a great test of how balanced your pelvis is, if you can really feel that sit bone. Let's try it with the other side. Put your hand underneath your butt and see if you can feel the bone when you lift your pelvis coming right down on your sit bone now. So as you stand, let's check what we did last time. Put your hand on your head, arm out to the side, and now move your foot in front and behind. Okay, and this is the advanced part. Look at the rock and put your foot in front and behind, and look away from the rock and put your foot in front and behind. Okay, you can take your head a little, do this. All right, and now of course try it with eyes closed. Okay, so you're going to close your eyes and move your foot in front and behind with your hand on your head. Walk around a little bit, see how it feels now. Should feel a lot more solid. And then let's try the other side. Rock out to the side, foot in front and behind, front and behind, right? Turn and look to the rock, front and behind. Look the opposite way. Move your foot front and behind. Try it with your eyes closed. Okay, and with this you can take it many variations. Eyes closed, looking toward the rock with the eyes closed, looking away from the rock with the eyes closed. All right, and then put the rock down and just walk around now and see how it feels to walk and turn your head. Well, that was fun, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to doing more balance practices, and thanks for joining me. See you next time.